Welcome back to the channel and Treasure Hunter. Today we're talking about some of the most valuable Kennedy half-dollar coins ever made in the United States of America. Some of these coins may look ordinary, but certain rare versions are worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. The Kennedy half-dollar was first released in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy, and since then, it has become one of the most collected coins in U.S. history. In this video, I'll show you which dates, mint marks, and special varieties to look for, and how to tell if you might have a valuable coin in your collection. Make sure you watch until the end because the last coin we discuss might surprise you. Let's get started. First up, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is a United States 50-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and it carries the P Mint mark, which since 1980 appears on coins from Philadelphia, making this issue historically interesting because earlier Philadelphia coins did not always carry a mint mark. The coin is part of the long-running Kennedy half dollar series that began in 1964, shortly after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and it was designed to honor his legacy and leadership. The obverse portrait of Kennedy was created by Gilroy Roberts, and the reverse featuring the presidential seal was designed by Frank Gasparo. The Kennedy half-dollar series remains one of the most emotionally significant modern coin series in American history, and the 1980 issue represents a later-clad era circulation strike, rather than the earlier silver compositions that collectors often seek. By 1980, the composition of the Kennedy half-dollar had already changed from the original 1964 90% silver content, and from the 40% silver composition used between 1965 and 1970. After 1971, the coin was struck in copper-nickel clad, meaning it contains an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Therefore, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar contains no silver, and its intrinsic metal value is close to its face value of 50 cents, which significantly affects its market price compared to earlier silver issues. The diameter is 30.6 millimeters, and the weight is approximately 11.34 grams with a reeded edge, and these specifications remain standard for clad half dollars struck by the United States Mint. The mintage of the 1980 Kennedy half dollar was substantial, with more than 33 million coins produced at the Philadelphia facility, which reduces scarcity in circulated grades. Because of this high mintage, the coin in fine condition, meaning moderate wear but all major details visible, generally trades close to face value in most coin price guides. A 1980 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition may be valued at approximately 50 cents to $1 depending on local demand and dealer pricing. Uncirculated examples may bring slightly higher premiums, often between $2 and $5, particularly if they display strong luster and minimal contact marks. Proof versions, however, were struck in San Francisco and are separate issues from the 1980 circulation strike. When evaluating a coin described as fine condition, collectors look for even wear across the high points of the design. On the obverse of the 1980 Kennedy half dollar, the hair above the ear and the cheek area will show smoothing, but the overall portrait remains clear. On the reverse, the eagle feathers show moderate blending, but the shield lines and major details are still distinct. The word Liberty and the date 1980 should remain bold, though slightly worn. The P Mint mark located near the date confirms Philadelphia origin and is important because it distinguishes the coin from the Denver issue, which carries a D Mint mark. The historical context of the Kennedy half dollar adds emotional value beyond its metallic composition. The series debuted in 1964 during a period of national mourning, and the public hoarded early issues heavily, especially the 90% silver coins. Over time, as silver prices fluctuated and circulating demand for half dollars declined, the denomination became less common in everyday commerce. By 1980, half dollars were rarely seen in pocket change, and most circulated primarily through banks and collectors, which means many 1980 coins entered circulation lightly and remained in relatively decent condition. For investors, the 1980 Kennedy half dollar is generally not considered a high-return asset because it lacks precious metal content and rarity. However, collectors assembling complete date and mint mark sets require this issue to fill the 1980 Philadelphia slot in their album set. Builders typically value coins in fine condition modestly, but pristine mint state coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services can command higher premiums due to condition rarity grading. Services such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company authenticate and encapsulate coins, which can increase buyer confidence and marketability. When discussing subscription detail in relation to coin collecting, many enthusiasts subscribe to numismatic publications and price guides to track value trends. Publications like a guidebook of United States coins, often referred to as the Red Book, provide yearly retail price estimates, mintages, and historical commentary. Coin collectors also subscribe to grading service, population reports, and auction archives to monitor market performance. For a 1980p Kennedy Half Dollar, the subscription value lies more in educational growth and market awareness than in the coin itself, dramatically increasing in price. If creating a 40-minute script about the 1980p Kennedy Half Dollar, you could structure the video into sections covering history, composition, design, grading, value, myths, investment potential, and collecting strategies. Begin with an engaging introduction about the legacy of John F. Kennedy and the creation of the Half Dollar series. Transition into detailed explanations of metal composition changes over the decades, then move into a hands-on grading demonstration showing what fine condition looks like under magnification. Discuss realistic pricing expectations and clarify that most circulated 1980p examples are worth face value, while emphasizing the joy of collecting rather than speculation. Another extended segment of the script could analyze common misconceptions, such as claims that all older half dollars contain silver or that every coin with a mint mark is rare. Provide viewers with step-by-step instructions on checking mint marks, identifying clad layers along the coin edge, and understanding how mintage figures impact scarcity. You could compare the 1980p to earlier key dates within the Kennedy series, highlighting why some years command strong premiums while others remain common. This educational approach helps build trust and encourages viewers to subscribe for more accurate coin information. Conclude the long-form script by encouraging responsible collecting and emphasizing that coin value depends on condition, rarity, demand, and historical significance. Remind viewers that while a 1980p Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition is typically worth only its face value, it still represents a tangible piece of American history, minted by the United States Mint and connected to the enduring legacy of President Kennedy. Invite viewers to like, comment, and subscribe for deeper dives into numismatics, and explain that knowledge is the greatest asset in coin collecting because understanding composition, grading, and market trends empowers collectors far more than chasing unrealistic value claims. Next up, the Kennedy Half Dollar series began in 1964, shortly after the tragic assassination of President Kennedy, and the nation wanted a lasting tribute, which led Congress to authorize the redesign of the half-dollar denomination, and since then the coin has been produced for decades, evolving in metal content and production numbers, and by 1984 the coin was no longer made of silver as the original 1964 issues were, but instead composed primarily of copper-nickel clad layers, which means the intrinsic metal value is relatively low compared to earlier silver issues. However, the historical and collectible value still plays an important role, and the 1984D issue had a mintage in the tens of millions, which means it is not considered rare in circulated grades such as fine condition, yet collectors still seek well-preserved examples, especially those with sharp details, minimal scratches, and original luster. Understanding the large mintage helps explain why the market value of a circulated 1984D Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition is typically modest, often around face value or slightly above, depending on demand and market fluctuations. When evaluating a coin in fine condition, collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor to mint state, and fine generally indicates that the coin has seen circulation with noticeable wear on high points such as the hair above the ear on the portrait of Kennedy and the feathers on the eagle of the reverse design, yet the main features remain bold and readable, including the date 1984, the D mint mark, and the inscriptions of Liberty and In God We Trust and United States of America and Half Dollar. And the better the detail retention, the more attractive the coin will be to collectors, and although this grade does not command high premiums, it is still important for those building date and mint mark sets because completeness is a key factor in numismatics, and many hobbyists enjoy assembling full runs of the Kennedy series from 1964 to present, including both Philadelphia and Denver issues. The design itself was created by sculptor Gilroy Roberts for the obverse and Frank Gasparo for the reverse, and their artistry has endured for decades, becoming one of the most recognizable coin designs in American currency. And the obverse features a left-facing portrait of President Kennedy that captures strength, dignity, and youth, while the reverse displays a heraldic eagle adapted from the presidential seal symbolizing unity and power. And these artistic details are part of why collectors continue to appreciate the series, even when individual dates such as 1984D are common, because aesthetic appeal combined with historical context adds emotional value beyond mere monetary worth, and this emotional connection often drives people to collect coins not simply for profit, but for heritage and storytelling. Now let us talk about value in more precise terms, because many viewers search for the exact worth of a 1984 D Kennedy half dollar in fine condition, and generally speaking most examples in fine grade trade for $1 or less, sometimes only 50 cents depending on local coin shop pricing and market supply, since millions were produced, and many still survive in circulation. However, if the coin is in uncirculated condition with strong luster and know where it might sell for a few dollars, and if it were a certified high-grade mint state example graded by a professional service, it could bring higher premiums, yet in fine circulated grade it remains a common coin, and collectors should not expect dramatic increases in short-term value, though long-term appreciation can occur slowly as older coins gradually disappear from circulation. Another important aspect to consider is error coins, because sometimes collectors find varieties such as double dies off center strikes or other minting anomalies, and while the standard 1984 D issue is common, an error version could carry significant premium depending on the severity and rarity of the mistake, and that is why examining each coin carefully under magnification is recommended, and also understanding the mint mark location just below the date helps confirm authenticity. And Denver produced coins are identified by that small d, which distinguishes them from Philadelphia issues that in that era typically had no mint mark, and knowing these small details empowers collectors to make informed decisions. Subscription detail in the coin collecting world can refer to demand trends, collector base growth, and the number of hobbyists consistently purchasing items from a particular series, and the Kennedy half dollar enjoys a stable subscription-like following because it connects to American history, patriotism, and presidential legacy, and even though individual dates like 1984 D are abundant, the series as a whole benefits from sustained interest, especially during milestone anniversaries or times when historical discussions about President Kennedy resurface in media and education, and this consistent interest helps maintain baseline value and liquidity, meaning it is easy to buy or sell such coins at modest prices. When storing a 1984 D Kennedy half dollar in fine condition, it is wise to keep it in a protective holder such as a coin flip or album slot designed for half dollars, because environmental damage like moisture and air pollution can cause toning discoloration or corrosion over time, and while some toning may be attractive, excessive damage reduces appeal and value, and collectors who care for their coins properly preserve not only monetary worth but also historical integrity. And it is fascinating to think that a coin struck in 1984 has now existed for more than 4 decades, passing through countless hands and transactions before potentially resting in a collection today. From an investment perspective, this coin should be viewed more as an affordable collectible rather than a high-return asset, because its high mintage limits rarity, yet it can serve as an entry point for beginners learning about grading mint marks and historical series building, and sometimes the greatest value lies in education, enjoyment, and connection rather than price appreciation, and assembling a complete Kennedy half-dollar set, including key dates, silver issues, and modern releases, provides a rewarding journey through American numismatic history, and the 1984 D plays its part in that long timeline. In conclusion, the 1984 D Kennedy half dollar in fine condition is a common yet meaningful piece of United States coinage minted in Denver as part of an ongoing tribute to President John F. Kennedy, and while its market value typically hovers around face value to perhaps $1, its historical symbolism, artistic design, and role within a beloved collecting series give it lasting appeal. And whether you are a beginner searching pocket change or an experienced numismatist completing a decades-long collection, this coin represents continuity, tradition, and remembrance within American currency. And if you enjoyed this deep exploration into the value, worth, and background of the 1984 D Kennedy half dollar, be sure to continue studying coin history, grading standards, and market trends, because knowledge is the true treasure in numismatics. Next up, the 1985 D mint mark example is part of a long-running series that began in 1964, shortly after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. This coin was created as a tribute to the late president, and it quickly replaced the Franklin half dollar in circulation. The 1985 D version was struck at the Denver Mint and carries the small D mint mark on the obverse near the date in 1985. The coin was produced for circulation and was made from a copper nickel-clad composition rather than silver, which had been removed from regular half dollars after 1970. Because of this metal content, the intrinsic value is based mostly on face value rather than precious metal content. The design features a left-facing portrait of President Kennedy on the front, designed by Gilroy Roberts, and the reverse shows the presidential seal designed by Frank Gasparo. The seal includes an eagle holding arrows and an olive branch symbolizing strength and peace, and this powerful imagery continues to attract collectors and history enthusiasts. When discussing the 1985 Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition, it is important to understand what fine condition means in coin grading. Fine condition, often abbreviated as F12 or F15, indicates moderate wear on the highest points of the design, but all major details remain visible in this grade. Kennedy hair details are worn but still clear, and the lettering and date remains strong. The reverse eagle shows feather detail, though flattened on the high points. Collectors use standardized grading systems developed by organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company. These services authenticate and encapsulate coins, providing confidence in condition and market value. For a 1985 in fine condition, the coin is considered circulated and common, meaning it is not rare or scarce. The mintage of the 1985 Kennedy Half Dollar was substantial, with millions produced for general circulation during the mid-1980s. Half dollars were not widely used in everyday commerce compared to quarters and dimes, but they were still minted in large numbers because of high production and low silver content. The 1985 coin is readily available in most grades, from circulated to uncirculated. Many examples remain in mint sets sold directly to collectors by the United States Mint. These mint sets preserved coins in uncirculated condition, which limits scarcity for circulated pieces. The survival rate of 1985 coins is high, so the value is generally modest. In terms of value, a 1985 Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition is typically worth around its face value of 50 cents. In some coin markets, it may sell for slightly above face value, perhaps $1, depending on demand and local interest. However, it does not carry significant premium unless it is in uncirculated condition with strong luster and minimal marks. Coins graded MS65 or higher can command higher prices, though still generally modest compared to silver issues. The absence of silver content means bullion value does not apply as it would for 1964 issues, which contained 90% silver, or the 1965 to 1970 coins, which contained 40% silver. Collectors sometimes search for varieties or errors in 1985 half dollars. While no major rare varieties are widely recognized, minor errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or double dies can increase value significantly. Error coins are unique collectibles and can bring strong premiums depending on visibility and condition. However, such errors are uncommon and must be authenticated to ensure legitimacy. Without an error or exceptional grade, the 1985 remains a common modern clad half dollar. The historical appeal of the Kennedy Half Dollar series continues to drive collector interest. The coin honors President Kennedy, whose legacy includes leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis and the founding of the Peace Corps. The obverse portrait captures his youthful appearance and has remained largely unchanged for decades. The reverse presidential seal reflects national symbolism, with 13 stars representing the original colonies. Over time, collectors have assembled date and mint mark sets seeking coins from Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, including proof issues struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins feature mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs, and they differ from circulation strikes like the 1985 If you are considering subscription details for coin collecting, many collectors join organizations such as the American Numismatic Association, which provides educational resources, market updates, and access to events. Membership often includes magazines, online tools, and grading seminar. Subscriptions to coin price guides, either in print or digital format, can also help track values over time. Some collectors subscribe to services from grading companies for regular submissions, especially if they deal in higher grade material. For a common coin like the 1985 subscription services are generally not required unless building a comprehensive collection. For storage and preservation, keeping a 1985 Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition requires basic protection. Coins should be stored in acid-free holders or albums designed for half dollars. Avoid cleaning the coin, as cleaning can reduce value by causing scratches or altering the surface. Natural toning is acceptable and sometimes desirable, but artificial cleaning damages collector appeal. Handling should be done by the edges to prevent oils from fingers affecting the surface. Even though the coin has modest value, proper care maintains its collectible status. If creating a 40-minute script about the 1985 Kennedy Half Dollar, one could divide the content into sections, including history of the series, design details, grading explanation, mintage, data, market value comparison with silver issues, and tips for collectors. The script could begin with the story of President Kennedy and the rapid creation of the coin in 1964, then transition into the evolution of metal composition and how economic changes led to the copper-nickel-clad format. A detailed explanation of fine condition grading standards would help viewers understand value differences, including visual descriptions of high points on the portrait and reverse eagle. Would add educational depth. Discussion of coin roll hunting, mint set collecting, and long-term market trends would extend the runtime toward 40 minutes. In conclusion, the 1985 D. Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition is a common United States coin primarily valued at face value, yet it remains historically meaningful as part of an enduring tribute to President Kennedy. Its copper-nickel composition means it lacks silver value, but it still holds educational and collectible interest for beginners. It represents an affordable entry into numismatics. For advanced collectors, it fills a necessary spot in a complete date and mint set, while not rare. Its connection to American history and its consistent design make it a lasting symbol within United States coinage and a worthy topic for detailed discussion and extended presentation. Next up, the 1990 D. Kennedy Half Dollar with the Denver Mint mark is a modern United States coin that was produced for circulation during the late 20th century. The coin was struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver, and it carries the small D Mint mark on the obverse just below the date. The Kennedy Half Dollar series itself began in 1964, shortly after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and it quickly became one of the most collected modern American coins. By 1990, the coin was no longer commonly seen in everyday circulation, yet it was still officially produced for banks, collectors, and annual mint sets. The design remains consistent with the original portrait created by Gilroy Roberts on the front, and the heraldic eagle reverse designed by Frank Gasparo, which gives the coin a classic patriotic appearance that collectors recognize instantly. When discussing value, it is important to understand that the 1990 D. Kennedy Half Dollar is composed of copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core, and it does not contain silver. This means that unlike the 1964 issue, which was 90% silver, or the later 40% silver issues from 1965 to 1970, the 1990 D coin has no intrinsic precious metal value beyond face value. In fine condition, which generally means moderate circulation where with major details visible, the coin is usually worth between 50 cents and $1 depending on market demand. Because millions were produced and many were saved in mint set, scarcity is low and collector premiums are modest. The mintage for the 1990 D. Kennedy Half Dollar was over 2 million coins for circulation strikes plus additional pieces for official mint sets. Compared to earlier decades, this mintage is relatively small, yet demand remains limited because many collectors prefer earlier silver issues or high-grade uncirculated examples. A coin graded fine typically shows wear on the hair above the ear of Kennedy and slight flattening on the eagle feathers on the reverse. Despite the wear, the overall outline remains strong and readable, which defines the fine grade in standard numismatic terminology. If you are considering selling or subscribing to a coin valuation service, it is useful to research pricing guides published by major grading organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company. These organizations certify coins and provide online price guides that help collectors understand current retail ranges. Subscription services offered by these grading companies may include population reports, auction archives, and market trend data, which can assist in determining whether your coin might bring a premium if professionally graded. For script purposes, you can begin by introducing the history of the Kennedy Half Dollar series and explaining why it was created in honor of President John F. Kennedy. Describe how the public responded emotionally in 1964 and how the coin became both a circulating piece and a memorial collectible. Transition into the modern era and explain that by 1990 the half dollar was rarely used in daily commerce, which led many examples to remain in relatively nice condition. This historical context helps viewers appreciate the background before discussing value. Next in your script, you can focus on identifying features of the 1990 D coin. Explain how to locate the D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse and describe the copper nickel-clad edge, which shows a visible copper stripe. Mention the weight of 11.34 grams and the diameter of 30.6 millimeters, which are standard for clad half dollars. Encouraging viewers to check these specifications helps them confirm authenticity and avoid confusion with earlier silver versions. In another section of the script, you can talk about grading in more detail. Describe what fine condition means by outlining the visible wear on high points while major lettering remains bold. Compare fine with very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated so viewers understand the price difference between circulated and mint state examples. Emphasize that most value for modern clad halves comes from high-grade mint state coins with strong luster rather than circulated pieces. You can also include a discussion of market demand and explain why many 1990 D coins trade close to face value. Talk about how supply and demand affect price and how collector interest often centers on key dates, errors, and varieties rather than common issues. Mention that error coins such as off-center strikes or double dies can bring higher premiums though they are rare. This adds excitement and keeps viewers engaged for a longer presentation. Another useful section could cover storage and preservation tips. Advise viewers to store coins in acid-free holders or albums and avoid cleaning them since cleaning can reduce collector value. Explain that even a common coin can lose appeal if scratched or improperly handled. Providing practical advice increases the educational value of your script and builds credibility with your audience. Finally, conclude your long presentation by summarizing that a 1990 Kennedy Half Dollar in fine condition is generally worth around face value to perhaps $1 depending on local demand. Reinforce that while it may not be rare, it represents an important continuation of a historic American coin series. Encourage viewers to explore coin collecting as a hobby that combines history, art, and economics, and invite them to subscribe for more detailed coin value guides and educational content in future. The 1992 Kennedy Half Dollar is a modern United States coin produced at the United States Mint facility in Denver, and it carries the D Mint mark below the date on the obverse side of the coin. This coin continues the long-running Kennedy Half Dollar series that began in 1964 to honor John F. Kennedy after his assassination, and it remains one of the most recognized American coin designs in circulation and in collections across the country. By 1992, the half dollar was no longer widely used in daily commerce, yet it was still produced for collectors, for banks, and for annual mint sets, which means many examples were saved in higher grades, while circulated pieces in fine condition still show honest wear from limited use. In fine condition, the 1992 Kennedy Half Dollar will display moderate wear on the highest points of the design, including the hair above the ear and the cheek of President Kennedy, while the lettering and date remain clear and bold on the reverse. The eagle feathers will show some flattening, yet the overall design is still strong and readable. Fine condition represents a mid-level circulated grade that appeals to collectors who want affordable examples without heavy damage. Since this coin is composed of copper nickel clad over a pure copper core, it contains no silver and therefore has no intrinsic precious metal value beyond its face value of 50 cents. The mintage of the 1992 Kennedy Half Dollar was several million pieces, which means it is not considered rare in circulated grades because supply remains high and demand is moderate. The typical market value for a coin in fine condition is generally between 50 cents and $1 depending on local demand and dealer pricing. In most cases, the coin trades very close to face value unless it is in uncirculated mint state condition or certified by a professional grading service high grade. Examples with strong luster can bring higher premiums, especially if preserved in original mint packaging. For collectors who are interested in professional evaluation, there are grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company that authenticate, grade, and encapsulate coins in protective holders. These companies also provide subscription-based online price guides, population reports, and auction archives, which can help collectors understand current market trends. Subscribing to such services can be useful for serious collectors who regularly buy, sell, or trade coins and who want accurate, updated pricing information. When preparing a 40-minute YouTube script, you can begin by explaining the historical background of the Kennedy Half Dollar series, describe the national mourning in 1963, and how the coin was introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President Kennedy. Discuss how the design by Gilroy Roberts on the obverse and Frank Gasparo on the reverse has remained largely unchanged for decades, which gives continuity and tradition to the series. Then transition into the modern era and explain how by 1992 the half dollar had become more of a collectible than a circulating coin. In the next part of your script, focus on identifying the 1992 D mint mark. Show viewers exactly where to look beneath the date, and explain the difference between Philadelphia coins, which at that time did not always carry a mint mark, and Denver coins, which show the letter D. Discuss the specifications of the coin, including its weight of 11.34 grams, diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and reeded edge, which are standard for clad half dollars. Teaching these details helps viewers confirm authenticity and understand the technical aspects of the coin. Another long section of your presentation can explore grading in detail, explain what fine condition means compared to very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. Emphasize that wear occurs first on high points, and that luster disappears as circulation increases. Provide visual descriptions so viewers can imagine the difference even without magnified images. Clarify that value increases significantly only when coins reach high mint state grades such as MS 65 or higher, which are much harder to find in circulation. You can also dedicate time to discussing market demand and collector interest. Explain how modern-clad half dollars like the 1992D are widely available, which limits their price growth. Discuss how key dates, low mintage issues, and error varieties often attract stronger premiums. Mention that collectors sometimes search for double-die varieties, off-center strikes, or other mint errors that can increase value substantially, though such examples are uncommon. This educational segment keeps viewers engaged and adds depth to your video. Storage and preservation should be another important topic. Encourage viewers to store coins in acid-free holders, albums, or certified slabs to prevent scratches and environmental damage. Advise against cleaning coins because cleaning can reduce collector value even for common issues. Explain that proper handling by holding coins by the edges helps maintain their condition and that long-term care can protect potential future value, even if the coin is currently worth only face value. Conclude your extended script by summarizing that the 1992D Kennedy half dollar in fine condition is generally worth around its face value of 50 cents to perhaps $1 depending on market conditions. Reinforce that while it may not be rare, it represents an important chapter in modern United States coinage. Encourage viewers to explore coin collecting as a rewarding hobby that connects history, economics, and art. Invite them to subscribe for more detailed coin value guides, grading, explanations, and educational content about American coins, and remind them that every coin tells a story, even when its market value is modest. Thanks for watching.